All right, question number 4 is on school and friendships, sort of similar to the last question. Our daughter is in ninth grade and was diagnosed with SM about 2 years ago, but in retrospect, we recognize now that signs have been there for much longer. She currently attends a small private school. From what I understand, she has been known to occasionally speak when questioned, but she's not initiative or elaborative. I know buddies and social connections are important, and when we encourage her to invite school friends over, she is disinterested. What suggestions do you have on how we can help her build friendships in and out of the classroom?
When children are younger, parents are able to set up the world for them through set up play dates, calling the parents, setting up these opportunities. As kids get older, it's much more difficult. It's awkward for a teenager to have their mommy or daddy call another family to set up a get together. It's just not going to happen. So, my recommendation is accept where she's at. Don't push it. Don't pressure her because it's going to cause her more stress, more anxiety, and more avoidance. And it's going to make her feel bad. What we want to do is understand it's very normal developmentally for adolescents, unless they really have a close relationship, not to necessarily get together outside of school. So let's set the stage for that. To help her become more confident, more social, more communicative in school, we really want to help pair and group her with, let's say, 3 to 5 kids that she can be in similar classes with, especially if it's an area of interest. So let's say she's in a club or an activity, and maybe 3 or 4 of those kids, or even 1 or 2 of those kids, happen to be in a couple other classes. This is a wonderful idea to share with the teachers that if they can work to pair and group her with those same kids, seated with, paired with, grouped with for projects, that's going to help her build friendships and connections. Also, teachers need to be aware of how to question. Assuming your child does not have an underlying speech and language issue, which is in about 30 to 40% of kids, that she is able to be elaborative, initiative, and expressive at home where she's comfortable, assuming that that's intact. It's very normal as kids are progressing into speech for them to speak in quiet 1 or 2 words and not be initiative, elaborative, and expressive in a regular volume. So that's what you're working on. But in order to set the stage for that, comfort needs to be an issue that has to be set. So again, the pairing and grouping in buddies, teachers consciously asking questions and knowing how to bridge up and bridge down. So if you ask a lot of yes no questions, your child's going to stay nonverbal. But if you ask a choice and she's verbal and she answers through hearing the choice, or you ask a direct question and if she doesn't answer and you prompt her to write it so she can read it, that's keeping her in verbal. If you ask choice and she's able to answer, now you want to start asking more WH based questions: what, when, where, why, how, so she can explain. So, one way to do that is if she's not doing it when you ask a what, when, where, and how question, we want to ask her to write it and then maybe read it.
Yeah, also I'm curious how going to a a small private school compares for this teenager to going to a public school. Like if she went to a big school, do you think, how does that change the dynamic here versus a
Well,
small private school
yeah, that could be a question.
environment?
Absolutely. This could be a question in itself. There's a couple things to think about. I don't know when this teenager has been in this school. I don't know if she's developmentally on par, if she's been in this school since she's in kindergarten and she's now a teenager and she's never developed friendships. I'd want to ask, does she have appropriate, age appropriate social skills? I don't know that by what you asked me. So I would want to know that. Did she just enter this school this year or last year where kids have already known each other for a while? It's a lot harder to get into a group, to integrate into a group when kids have already known each other, especially in the adolescent years. It's definitely difficult because they've known each other, they've developed relationships, and now a child that has SM or is timid, to integrate into a group is difficult. So this is where we will need to rely on teachers to help us pair, group, clubs, activities to really foster that. In a large public school, it could be really difficult, especially if you're going from an elementary to a middle school to an upper school, and now your school's like huge and like triple the size because now you're in high school. So it's possible she doesn't have any friends. Maybe she just started high school. Again, I don't know the details with this case, but I'm just trying to give you all cases or a lot of scenarios that could be. So entering into high school, having accommodations and interventions within a public school is really recommended. If she's having difficulty socializing, she's not reaching her potential socially, emotionally, it's maybe affecting her academically. I don't know. We need to think about a 504 or an IEP plan, and that will help her with accommodations and interventions to not only build connections socially, but also to be able to know how to question her, know how to help her so that she can at least reach her capacity in school. So private schools don't necessarily have an IEP or a 504, so it could be smaller, which is great and nurturing, but it doesn't mean the school's going to provide accommodations and interventions.